In today's session, we'll see how to pass accounting transactions. This session presented by Bharat Kumar. So first, we'll create a company in the name of ABC and Co with a complete address by using multiple lines, and we select a proper state, country, PIN code, contact details, email ID, and we'll accept the screen. So to know how to create a company, you can refer a company creation video. So we'll see the first transaction. It says commenced business with cash rupees 1 lakh. So this was the first transaction what we are going to pass in Tally Prime. So for this transaction we use a receipt voucher, and the shortcut key for receipt voucher is F6. To pass this transaction we required two ledgers, namely capital and cash, which should be grouped under capital as a ledger, group it under capital account, cash under cash in hand. So cash is a default ledger in Tally Prime, so no need to create. We need to create only capital account. So in this, what to debit and what to credit? So we need to credit capital account and debit cash account. We are receiving a cash to a business, so debit cash and credit a capital with a value of 1 lakh. So this is what the transaction is. So if you are from a commerce background, you can easily say what is the transaction. Capital account credit 1 lakh rupees to cash account debit 1 lakh. This is what the JV you pass in your books of accounts. The same thing we use in Tally Prime, but not a journal entry. We use a receipt voucher. Journal entries will be used only for adjustment entries and provisional entries in Tally Prime. So we have a separate vouchers for each and every transactions. First we need to identify which voucher I need to select after reading a transaction, and then we go with debit and credit. So let's go with the transaction. So we go to Tally Prime. So ABC and Co company has already created, and we are in gateway of Tally. So we'll directly go to our vouchers. So we'll pass a transaction. So at present I have not created any ledgers. So if you go to alter ledger, so these are the two default ledgers what we see in Tally Prime: cash account and a capital account. So we'll go to voucher to pass a transaction. So we'll see a transaction once again. So the transaction says commenced business with cash rupees 1 lakh. We are using a receipt voucher with a ledger name called cash and capital for 1 lakh rupees. So we'll come back to Prime. The shortcut key for receipt is F6, and all the transaction we are passing in double entry system. We are not using a single entry system. We'll pass all the transactions in double entry system. So here in receipt voucher, it is asking for credit. So we have not created capital account. So we'll create it. The cursor is already in creation field. So you can press enter, or the shortcut key to create a ledger is Alt C. So we'll create capital account and capital. We'll group it under capital account itself. So whenever you create a ledger, a grouping will play a major role in your Tally Prime. How you are going to group, as per that the reports will be generated. So make sure and be perfect in creation of a ledger and grouping that ledger. So we'll accept the screen. So then Tally will, it is 1 lakh rupees capital invested for 1 lakh is credited, and we go with a debit cash 1 lakh rupees. The value will be picked automatically. So Tally will pick a value whatever you have entered in the credit side, the same value will be picked in debit side, or vice versa in a different transactions. And we'll enter, and we give a complete narration over here for each and every transactions, so that we can easily identify why we have passed this transaction. So you can give a narration like being started a business with a capital of 1 lakh, and we'll accept the screen. So this is how you pass a transaction. So we go with the next transaction. So the next transaction says deposited into bank rupees 15,000. So we are going to deposit a cash of rupees 15,000 to bank. So which voucher will pass? So we'll select a contra voucher. So whatever the transaction you get, cash to cash, cash to bank to bank, and bank to cash. So all this transaction will be used in contra voucher. And the shortcut key for contra voucher is F4. So the two ledgers we require to pass this transaction is cash and bank. So cash is already there, we'll create bank. And the grouping of this ledgers will be cash will come under cash in hand, bank will come under bank account, and we credit cash and debit a bank to pass this transaction, and the values will be 15,000. So we'll pass a transaction like credit cash account 15,000 and debit bank account 15,000. So we'll go to Tally Prime now. So the shortcut key for contra is F4. So it will ask credit first. So we go with cash. Value will be 15,000 and we debit a bank account. So bank account is not yet created. We use a create option and we'll create bank account under bank account. So instead of keep on entering, you can use a shortcut key called Ctrl A to accept the screen. And you can give a narration. So whatever the screen you are getting now, the denomination part, so this will be covered in banking video. So at present I'll give a number of notes what we are depositing here, and you can give a narration like cash deposited to bank, and we can accept the screen. So next we go with the next transaction. Brought furniture rupees 3,000. So we have brought our office furnitures for 3,000. So this will be passed in payment voucher by using a shortcut key F5. So the two ledgers we required is office furniture account and cash account. Cash is already there, no need to create. So we'll create only office furniture grouping under fixed asset, and we debit office furniture and credit cash account to pass this transaction with a value of 3,000. So we'll see the scene. So we go with a payment voucher, shortcut key is F5. So we'll create a ledger called office furniture under fixed asset, and we'll accept the screen with the value of 3,000, and we have given cash, so we are crediting cash account here. So the narration will be being furniture purchased and we'll accept the screen. So next we go with a transaction called goods sold for rupees 2500. We made a sale of rupees 2500 and we have received a cash. So for the same we use a sales voucher. The shortcut key will be F8. The ledger names to be used to pass this transaction is cash and sales. So we'll create sales ledger under sales account group and we debit cash and credit a sales to pass a transaction with a value of 2500. So we'll say it in Tally Prime. So we go with sales. So as I said, you can pass a transaction in 3 different modes. So we use voucher mode. So we go with the change option and we use a voucher mode to pass our transactions here. So debit cash 2500 and credit sales. So sales ledger is not created, so it is showing blank in list of ledger account. So we go with create option and we create sales under sales account and we'll accept this screen. So it will ask for our inventory details or stock item details. We'll skip this in this accounting transactions and we'll pass a transaction. So the narration will be being goods sold for cash and we'll accept this screen. So we'll see the next transaction. Purchase goods from Mr. Arun on credit rupees 2000. So we use a purchase voucher to pass this transaction. Shortcut key will be F9. The 2 ledgers should be required to pass this transaction is Arun account and purchase account. So Arun account will be created under creditor because he is a supplier for a company, and purchase account will be created under purchase account. So we credit Arun and we debit a purchase with the value of 2000 rupees. So we go with a transaction now. So we use purchase voucher. The shortcut key is F9. So we use voucher mode to pass this transaction and you can give a supplier invoice number, which means Arun's sales invoice will be our supplier invoice number. So we give our invoice number as 1 and we'll create Arun account. So it is not created, we'll create it under sundry creditors and we'll accept this screen with the value of 2000 rupees and debit purchase. It is not created, we'll create it. Purchase under purchase account and we'll accept this screen. So you can give a narration like being goods purchased for cash and we'll accept this screen. So we'll go through the next transaction. Sold goods to Mr. Kiran on credit for rupees 3000. We are selling our goods, then we use a sales voucher and the shortcut key for this is F8. The 2 ledgers we require is Kiran account and sales account. So sales ledger is already created for the previous transaction, so no need to create it again. So we'll create only Kiran account under sundry debtors and we debit Kiran credit sales account to pass this transaction with the worth of 3000. So we go to sales, Ucha mode. So we'll create Kiran account under debtors. Is a customer for me, so we'll group it under debtors and we'll accept this screen, and the value will be 3000 rupees. So this reference will go with the other topics, so you can understand this bill wise details in the bill wise topic, which will be in advanced level. So we go with credit cash. So I can give a narration like being sold goods on credit to Kiran, and we'll accept this screen. So we'll pass the next transaction. Received cash from Mr. Kiran rupees 2000. So we'll pass this transaction. So we go with F6. So we credit Kiran account, which is already created, worth of 2000 rupees, and debit cash, which we have received through cash in the form of cash. So you can give a narration like being cash received from Kiran, and we'll accept this screen. So next we go with paid cash to Mr. Arun rupees 1000. So we use a payment voucher. The shortcut key is F5. So we require to pass this transaction is Arun and cash. Both are already created to pass our previous transactions. So we'll debit Arun account and we credit cash with a value of 1000. So we go with payment voucher, debit Arun account 1000 rupees and credit cash 1000. So being cash paid to Arun, and we'll accept this screen. So we go with next transaction. Received commission of rupees 50. So the voucher will be receipt because we are receiving. So we use receipt voucher. So what is the shortcut key? The shortcut key will be F6. The ledger we required commission and cash to pass this transaction. So we'll create a ledger name called commission, which is an income for a company. So we group it under indirect income and we credit commission account and debit cash with a value of 50 rupees. So we use receipt voucher, credit commission. So the ledger is not available, we'll create it, commission account and indirect expenses, and we'll accept this screen, worth of 50 rupees, and we debit cash. We are receiving in the form of cash. So being commission received through cash, and we'll accept this transaction. So we go with the next transaction. Received interest on bank deposit rupees 100. So even this will be passed in receipt voucher. The shortcut key is F6. So we required two ledgers in the name interest on bank deposit and bank. So the bank ledger is already created. We'll create interest on bank deposit under indirect income and we credit interest account and debit bank account with a value of 100. So we go with the receipt itself. The receipt entry is already open. So we go with bank interest. So we create it, bank interest, under indirect income, and we'll accept the screen with a value of 100 rupees. And we debit bank account, and we'll give a narration called being interest received from bank, and we'll accept it. So we go with the next transaction, cash deposited into bank rupees 1000. So we use contra voucher for this. Shortcut key will be F4. We require two ledgers, cash and bank, which is already available in our data. So no need to create any ledgers. So we credit cash and debit bank to pass this transaction with the value of 1000 rupees. So we go with contra voucher. Cash will be credited for rupees 1000 and bank account will be debited for 1000, and we'll give a narration being cash deposited to bank account, and we'll accept it. So next we go with a transaction paid for advertisement rupees 500. We use a payment voucher here with the shortcut key called F5. So we require two ledgers, advertisement and cash. So cash is already there, so we'll create advertisement under indirect expenses. We debit advertisement and credit cash with a value of 500. So we'll create a payment voucher, debit advertisement under indirect expenses, and we'll accept this screen with the value of 500 and credit cash. So being cash paid to advertisement, and we'll accept the screen. So next we go with a transaction purchase goods for cash rupees 800. So we use a purchase transaction, a purchase voucher. Shortcut key will be F9. So we require purchase and cash ledger. Both are available in data. So we debit purchase and credit cash of rupees 800. So we go with purchase in a voucher mode. So you can give a supplier invoice number, cash purchase for 800. So we credit cash and we debit purchase account. So the narration will be being goods purchased for cash, and we'll accept the screen. So we go with the next transaction, sold goods for rupees 1500. So we use sales voucher by using a shortcut key F8. The two ledgers we require is cash and sales, both are available. So we go with debit cash and credit sales. The amount will be 1500. So we go with sales with the change mode option, and we use as voucher. So we select cash debit 1500 and sales 1500, being goods sold for cash. So we go with the next transaction, paid salary rupees 5000. We use a payment voucher. Shortcut key will be F5. So we require salary and cash to pass this transaction. So we require to create a salary account under indirect expenses, and we debit salary and credit cash with a value of 5000. So we go to payment voucher. We'll create a salary under indirect expenses and we'll accept the screen with a value of 5000 and credit cash 5000, and we'll accept the screen by giving a narration, being salary paid for the month of April 2020, and we'll accept this screen. So this is how you can pass transactions by using all your vouchers. We have used contra, payment, receipt, sales, and even a purchase vouchers. So once the transaction is passed, you can go to a debook option and you can view all the transaction what you have passed on this particular date. So we are seeing a report on 1st April 2020. So this report, a daybook report, displays whatever the transaction you have passed on 1st April 2020. So this many transactions we have passed. So all the transactions are visible in one single screen. So you can go through this report. So this is what the transaction we have done. So after passing this transaction, you can go to our reports like profit and loss account, and we are getting all the options here. So what is the purchase we have done, what is the sales we have done, and what is the profit you got from purchase and sales, which is called as gross profit, and the expenses what we have done, and the income what we got from the business. So finally we are in a loss of 1150 in our profit and loss account. So we have not prepared any reports. So we have just created a ledgers and we have passed a transaction accordingly. So once this is done properly without any mistakes, then your reports will be ready to analyze. The same way you can also see a balance sheet. Even your balance sheet will be prepared, and even your trial balance. For trial balance, you can go to display trial balance. So this is what the trial balance is. So once the ledger and transaction has been prepared properly without any mistakes, then your reports will be generated according to your transactions. So this is how you can pass a transactions. So I think you came to know how to pass a transaction by using Tally Prime. Thank you.